Hi, and welcome back to EdTech Insider. I'm Andrew Cohen, the founder of Brainscape, and today I'm here with Matt Curinga. Matt is an assistant professor at Adelphi University who is helping to start an education technology master's degree program. He also was a founding member of Study Place and lead engineer there, has a doctorate in education technology from Columbia University, and is going to talk to us about what he's working on now. How you doing, Matt?
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks for having me in.
It's good to have you. So this program at Adelphi University, it's in education technology. There are a lot of other ed tech programs out there. It's been sort of a new rage in education programs. What distinguishes Adelphi's program from others, such as, for example, Columbia's Teachers College?
Well, it's interesting because I'm developing this new program from scratch. They don't offer anything now. So I'm about to propose 14 new courses that are going to make up the core of the master's, and I've been looking at what all the other universities offer. And there are probably about 8 programs in New York State that offer a master's in educational technology. I want to distinguish the Adelphi program in a couple ways. One, I think it's going to be more technical than the degree from Columbia. I think there'll be more of a focus on media production, on programming and networking. I want graduates to be prepared to step into a school or into a corporate setting and have the technical skills that they need. And I'm going to combine that with the things that interest me, which are theory and philosophy of education and theories of media and communication studies, especially like critical media literacy and that kind of stuff. So it's going to be more focused in a program at like Columbia or at NYU, and it'll be a little more theoretical than a program at like Toro or Dowling or someplace like that where they just have a master's.
So every time I've always talked to you about trends in education, you're always in favor of making everything open, sort of wikifying the space. And I understand you're going to also have a certificate as part of this program that you're fully leading in open education. Tell us a little bit more about that and how it brings in some of your background and other projects you've worked on.
So you know I'm a supporter of free software, and I also am a supporter of a general idea of open education. So the certificate in open education and the general focus on open education is what I hope will really distinguish the program at Adelphi from other programs. There are really very few courses in the United States in open education. I don't know of any certificate or degrees in open education. And the idea of open education is that it combines certain theories of pedagogy with ideas from open source and free software and the collaborative nature of the internet. So on one side you've got kind of a heritage from Dewey and the idea of education being a democratic process, or should be a democratic process. Then you've got the anti-institutional idea from someone like Ivan Illich and Deschooling Society, or one of my favorites, Jacques Rancière, and the idea that we don't really need schools to learn, and people can educate themselves. And then you throw in the mix something like Facebook or YouTube, where you just have this productive power of the internet and people collaborating. And I think that that isn't good in itself, but with the right direction, it can be an interesting mix for education.
And as far as the evolution of the technology that would support this fully open education platform that you envision, how far along are we, and what are we missing so far? How much would we have to go?
Well, technically, from a purely technical point of view, I think that we need the protocols that will be the low-level kind of interface for how this will work. And there's some work on open protocols for like a social web, and I think that would be part of that, because part of open education is the same underlying force that's behind Wikipedia and behind something like Facebook. There's a community, and it puts people in contact with each other. And there are some low-level protocols that need to facilitate that. And for open source software and free software to work, you need a standard, and that opens up creativity and lets people collaborate with each other without having to be constantly working together. This idea of like a tightly and loosely coupled thing. The protocols allow loose coupling between it. So from a technical point of view, that might be a missing layer. I think it's more it's more of a cultural point of view, though, that would stand in the way. Like, are we moving towards the Apple, iPhone, everything is an app that you pay for idea, or are we moving towards a more open idea of education and computing in general? And I think that's one of the questions.
And in the open model, you talked about a standard. Who would help to establish that standard or to maintain it? Would it just be the community, or is somebody well positioned to be a leader in this space and preserving that standard?
The same people that are now, like the W3C or the IETF. There are organizations that oversee this. They're usually partnerships between universities, the community, development communities, sometimes corporations that have an interest in it. I'm particularly skeptical of corporations in education. I think the rush to digitize and move technology into education, we risk rushing in with like a corporate takeover of what I don't think is really a corporate or a market space. So that's one thing where I think free software can help to form a barrier against that corporate takeover of a public common good, which is what education should be or can be at its highest ideal.
I mean, all the things that you've worked with have been open and not actual companies, but rather open organizations. Study Place was such a thing. I know right now you're working on Wikiotics as the principal investigator with them. Tell us a little bit more about either Study Place or Wikiotics and where you're taking things right now.
Well, Wikiotics it's a new language learning software. We call it Wikiotics because it's based on the idea of a wiki in Wikipedia where people can collaborate to build language lessons. So it's really been in full force for about 6 months. We went to the Open Ed conference and the Mozilla conference in Barcelona this fall, and we showed it and got some very good feedback from people. In this spring, we're going to start doing some trials with a Chinese language school in Manhattan and a community center for recent Spanish-speaking immigrants in Long Island, and we're going to have them building their own lessons. With the Chinese group, they're going to be partnered with English language learners in China, and they're going to create media for each other. So it's going to be partly a cultural exchange through the software, partly a language learning experience. And with the group in Long Island, we're going to focus on a media authoring program. So they're going to be learning English while they're learning some of the skills of new media development and building their own language materials as they go.
So you're sort of merging two different types of skill development at the same time. You've got technical development, you've got language skill development.
Right. Well, there's a lot of research in language learning that deep learning happens better through significant content areas. So if you challenge the learner while they're doing it, they're going to learn and retain more, they're going to learn it faster, and they're going to be able to use it more in context rather than just surface level studying of nouns and verbs and stuff. So that's the idea behind this research. And we'll see how it goes. It's research and it might fail. I'm open to that idea too. We might have to retool it a little bit.
Well, that's some of the benefits of open education is just by working on things, you're learning together, you're learning from each other, and having the user-generated content. For anybody who's interested in this field, anybody out there who's watching and wants to get into open education, might not be ready to take a plunge and take a whole degree program, but to learn more about it, to find out if the field is right for them, what advice would you give to them?
Well, there are... I think the best single place to start would be the Creative Commons website, creativecommons.org. They have a list of open education resources on the web. Probably the best known ones are MIT's OpenCourseWare system, where they have thousands of courses, real MIT courses you can follow along online. Wikipedia and the Wikimedia organization are big movers in this field and kind of a force behind it. And there's a book, an anthology in open education published by MIT Press, which is also open. It's got a Creative Commons license, so they can download that if they want to dive into the literature a little bit.
Good. So it sounds like there are a lot of good resources out there.
No, it's still developing, and there's still some tensions into what direction it should go. So I'd like it to be probably a more radical rethinking of what education is, whereas other people think it's a way to improve the existing school model by lowering costs and gaining some of this kind of market forces in education. So we'll see how it pans out.
Well, it'll be interesting also to see how your degree program that you're helping spearhead pans out, and what you guys end up discovering together.
All right.
So if anyone is interested in it, follow Matt Curinga and his program that he's helping develop at Adelphi as it comes out. Stay tuned. Thank you very much, Matt.
All right, Andrew. Thanks for having me in.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to being in touch. Thank you. I'm Andrew Cohen with EdTech Insider.